Happy Sunday, everybody. This is Columbus This Week. I'm Eric, and I'm here with Trevor, bringing you all the latest news, events, and stories that impact you. And I'm going to start off. Trevor, I'm actually really hungry right now, so I'm gonna start off with a cool story, cool happening that's going on. So, can you name for me the only restaurant in the entire state that is part of Yelp's top 100 restaurants in America?
Is it Momo Gar?
You are correct. It is. Unfortunately, I haven't been there yet, even though I'm Yelp elite
It's
and
overrated.
I'm expected to go. But
It's so overrated.
yeah. Well, I haven't. I'll let you know once I go. But they're opening a new location in the North Market, which I think is a good location. Even if you think it's overrated, I think it's good that something in the city is getting recognition from all the hipsters and all the foodies, so I'm pretty excited about that.
So here's the thing. They just sell dumplings. That's literally it. How can you sell dumplings and be in the top one? Like, what?
Because from what I've read, what I've heard, they taste exactly like what they taste like in Nepal. So you got to give some credit for authenticity.
But do you give all the credit for authenticity? Because look, if it's just like some random Nepalese shop, where are you in the country? Are all those restaurants top 100? Is like top 100?
Apparently this is the best one.
Is like top 100 of the world just like a bunch of...
No, in America. I don't know if I don't think it's in the world.
I see. So if we just bring a bunch of Nepal dumpling shops and just like plot them in the U.S., that just covers the top 100 list then, right?
No,
because the thing is, it's boring. That's all they have. They have fucking dumplings, basically.
Yeah, but they're good.
I had dumpling soup and it was good, but it wasn't like... it wasn't like amazing. It wasn't like, oh my god, this is the best thing I've ever eaten.
Well, according to everybody, you're wrong. So,
according to everybody, apparently the refectory is also like some amazing place.
The refectory is really good.
It's not.
I think you don't have taste buds.
It's not worth the $60 you have to pay.
Well, I never spend $60 when I go.
That's...
It depends on what you. Well, don't go during Valentine's Day unless you've got like a cool $100 person to spend, because we made that mistake.
See, the secret is to go like 2 days after Valentine's Day.
Yeah, of course, but when you gotta impress the girl, so.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's coming. That's coming to North Market. I think that's pretty sweet. Speaking of the short north,
I just want to say real quick, I don't think it's a bad restaurant. I just think it's very overrated. Like, it's not best restaurant in Ohio.
I don't know.
Just to get out there.
Well, I still haven't been yet, so I'll maybe if I go this week or something, we'll argue about it. I'm sure I'm gonna love it. So anyway, speaking of the short north, there's some interesting, I guess, political developments going on. The city of Columbus is going to investigate whether or not they need to continue to give the area developers tax incentives, tax abatements. The Columbus developers argue that they need tax abatements, study or not. So I obviously think that that's ridiculous on the face of it, because all you have to do is just drive through the short north, and it's like, why do they need extra money to develop there? I just don't buy the argument. I certainly don't buy an argument that says I don't care what the facts are. Give me money. That's just on its face. It's just ridiculous.
Okay, so here's the thing. People getting money want to keep getting money. News at 11. Back to you, Eric.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're receiving money, you're going to be favoring the side that says, "Give me more money." Like, that's just the stance they're going to take. Like,
yeah, and I think that's kind of a larger problem with America right now. Anyway, but
that people want money.
Well, it's just like people who don't need the money are just saying, "Hey, give me more money from the government coffers, from the taxpayers," and I think that's fundamentally kind of like not good for the country.
I don't think that's
the city.
I don't think that's a problem with America. I think this is an issue as old as time. Not as old as time, but as old as like...
I was gonna say, because I don't think humans have been around for like 13 million years.
As old as civilization, right? Like, someone wants something.
Right.
They don't have it, or they're getting it and they want to keep getting it.
Well, it's like you were getting paid. It's like, if you, let's say you got in a car accident, and you went to rehabilitation, and it's like now you've been fully rehabilitated, but like you still want to go because it was like fun for you or something. But that's ridiculous. Like, you don't need that anymore. You should like be a normal respectable person or company and say, hey, yeah, thanks for all the help you gave us. Like, let's go back to business as usual because the help has met what the goal of the help was.
There's a difference between help and money, though. Eventually, like getting assistance confers no benefit, whereas money always confers a benefit to someone.
Yeah.
Like that's. I mean, that's just. I mean, I think it's fundamentally different.
I think ultimately the city will probably give in. But I mean, if they're going to keep doing that, they should give more tax abatements to other areas that need development, not just the short north. Because I mean, it's basically sustainable on its own. It doesn't really need. I don't think it need it. Regardless whether they want it or not, I don't think that these developers need money to keep putting businesses in there. All you have to do is look at the home prices, look at the kind of the cost of food and going out and all that kind of stuff in the short north. I think it's pretty sustainable, and I don't think they need to.
So I don't think it's a good thing. I was just trying to make the case that like it's obvious that people.
Well, yeah, I mean, like if I expect a dog to bite me if it's like I feel something, but I do think human reason here.
I do think that the short north is probably right around the last place in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
That is in need of funds.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right up there with New Albany.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they could definitely spend time, and maybe they're doing it. I will say I don't know the full scope of all the tax abatements for, for the city, but something like down on Livingston and Parsons Avenue, down by Nationwide Children, I'm sure they have been, but like those are the kind of areas that need tax abatements to get further, development and infusion of, hopefully local businesses and not just put like a whole bunch of Panera Breads or whatever down there.
So what about places like? What about places that are being brought up? Like, what's the name of the area?
Like Franklinton?
Well, I mean Franklinton. That process.
I think that's already done.
Yeah. So
that's already.
I was thinking more like Old Town East, right? That's still a work in progress.
Yeah, sure.
Right. I mean, you go too far south in Old Town East. Not the Bexley part, but you go too far south otherwise, and like there are crack houses everywhere.
Right.
Like
right.
that is. I mean, so how about funding areas like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on board. Well, and it's not funding so much as it's not taxing, taxing what they normally would tax to. So
I mean, I
look at that differently.
I don't.
Well,
I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's still money that's not being taken that would have been taken.
Yeah, but then I mean, you can definitely look at it that way, and then on top of that, the government's taking in this money, and then so how are they using it? So I look at this as just like a way. I mean, the government's just spending money anyway, so either way, the government's still getting that amount of money, whatever it would be, whether it's hypothetical because of that tax abatement or it's like actual cash revenue that they spend on, God knows what. Hopefully, more bike paths, but.
All right, should we move on to the next topic now?
Yeah, but yeah. So that, and then the one last thing that was interesting on that was, I guess, for the story from the Dispatch, like they tried getting in touch with like everybody in city council, and nobody like had anything to say about it. It's like, oh, that's typical. So that kind of makes me mad. Like, why can't you take a stance?
I mean, city councilmen are way too busy, and they don't get paid anything. Like, I don't know why anyone wants
that. They
like
$60,000.
No, they don't. They get paid. They get paid like 48.
No, I can look it up right now. It's definitely like $60,000. Well, I don't want to, but it's definitely more than you think it is. All right, so kind of still related, like with tax abatements and development and stuff. There was a good article in the Washington Post about a week ago that was highlighting. So more or less, what's happening is large corporations are relocating from the suburbs to downtown areas. So some of the examples they gave were like GE moving into, I think they moved into like downtown Boston, McDonald's moving into like downtown Chicago, and some large corporations that are basically just saying, hey, we're done with the suburbs and the car commutes and all this stuff. We're moving downtown where all the action is. This definitely has some relevance here in Columbus too, because if I recall correctly, Nationwide, not Children's, but Nationwide Insurance, that was something they were planning on doing, is taking all and this could, maybe not, but it's just the last thing I remember hearing about it. They were planning on taking all their suburban offices, moving them to downtown areas. Personally, I think that's a good thing because I want more people living in downtown areas and walking and riding bikes instead of driving cars everywhere. But I don't know if you had any thoughts on that, or if you completely disagree.
So I mean, I think regardless, it's inevitable because. So I mean, as you have.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally happening. Like,
well, yeah.
Happen,
I mean, I think demographics wise, even as you have the sort of older suburbanites start to retire and get replaced in the workforce by younger people who are largely a lot more urban in where they're living.
Yeah.
Right. People who say live downtown like you.
Right.
Then I mean it just makes a whole lot of sense to move downtown because that's where talent is, and some talent isn't willing to make a 30-40 minute commute.
Right. Yeah. And I mean overall I think it's just demographics aside, I just think it's a good idea anyway. So I mean the whole idea of like spending, I think we've touched on this before, but the whole idea of spending $40-50 million every year or two to like rebuild out some highway infrastructure, it's just like, to me, that just doesn't seem like it's a sustainable long-term solution versus like people moving downtown and then walking. It's like you got to think about the maintenance, like how many accidents do we have? What's how much do you have to pay for car insurance? What's the maintenance on your car? You actually have to buy a car, gasoline, the emissions, which I mean, you take all those things together, and then you add to that, like, I mean, what's the lifestyle like, right? So you live in the suburbs, and I have lived in the suburbs, so I know. You live in a nice house, which is great, and then you get in a car, whatever that is. Hopefully, don't die because Ohio's terrible drivers. So hopefully you don't die, and you get to work. Then you drive back home, and it's like there's no sense of community. Like people in the suburbs, they don't even know their neighbors. So you get that anywhere, I guess, but it seems like it's more prevalent in like the suburb areas where everybody just kind of wants to like keep to themselves more or less. So and then like how do you get into innovation and things like that when, like, for me at least, like when I think of ideas and like things, I come up with ideas for like companies or whatever, like I'm able to bounce those ideas off people that I know because like, oh hey, like let's meet for coffee, or like let's go grab a beer, like what do you think about doing this, or what have you, versus you live in the suburbs, it's like, oh, like let me drive 20 minutes to your house, and I gotta park my car, and I gotta walk in, and then it's just like it becomes an event versus a casual encounter or interaction. I think that companies are going to see a big benefit in moving downtown in terms of those kind of interactions.
So I've got a couple objections. The first one is I'm pretty sure Ohio doesn't have terrible drivers.
Oh, I don't know. Have you driven lately?
Or at the very least, if Ohio has terrible drivers, the entire rest of the world is fucked, right? Because I think it's fair to say that the U.S. is probably one of the best countries to drive in, right?
No. I don't think that's fair to say at all. I mean, Germany is a good country to drive in. Like, they don't have, I think they have like half the accidents that we do. And they can drive as fast as they want on the Autobahn. I can't get on freaking 71 without getting stuck behind somebody in the left lane going 55.
Well, you run into that problem in the Autobahn, too.
No, you don't, because you get, like, crashed into and you'll die.
No, you don't.
Yeah, because the other people in the lane that are going fast are going like 130 miles an hour or 100 miles an hour. Or whatever, and then they're like, if you come up on somebody who's going 55 in like the German left lane, whatever that would be, you're gonna like smash right into them. You can't go that slow on the Autobahn.
Yeah, you can. There are parts of the Autobahn that are 2-lane where like you just don't get to go fast if
and those are probably the most traffic prone areas too.
So. If traffic is dense. But anyways, I mean, I guess what I was going to say is that out of all the states, Ohio drivers are the second best as far as accident rates. We're only bested by Minnesota. Which is amazing considering the fact that they're driving on ice half the year.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think it's probably bad everywhere, but that kind of feeds into my point is like, if Ohio drivers suck and they're the best in the U.S., then we definitely need to get people off the roads.
But other objections I have to your sort of long piece. I don't think the event thing is necessarily like an issue.
Okay.
I mean, I think you also run into the opposite problem. I mean, you run into the problem whenever people aren't co-located, right? Like, if you live downtown and other people aren't, it's a pain in the ass for them to go to where you're at. Meanwhile, if you live in, so there's different challenges. If you live out in the suburbs, generally it's going to be pretty easy to find parking, but people have to drive a long way, no matter where they're located, just because people tend to be more spread as the area increases. So, like, I think that's going to be an issue no matter what, unless, like, everyone is co-located in a very, very, like, small area. Unless you're choosing your friends basically based on the district you live in downtown.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I can ride my bike over to Franklin in like 10 minutes and, like, not feel like I'm going to die.
All right, that's Franklinton.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. But I can also ride my bike into German Village. And I can walk into German. I can walk to Franklinton, too. I can walk to downtown.
Right, but
I can walk to the short north in like 20 minutes. Like, I can get everywhere.
But I mean, your examples are pretty much all districts that neighbor you.
Well, I mean, short north is separated between.
Well, yeah, the short north is the exception.
But even then, I can just hop on the C bus and I'm still there in like 10 minutes. So like, why would I want to own, maintain, and drive around this stupid car if I can just like hop on the bus, or if I can just walk or ride my bike over there?
Isn't the C bus getting shut down?
I don't think so.
I thought it was running into funding issues.
Yeah, I do think it has funding. It might have funding issues, but I don't think it's getting shut down. I don't think it'd be a good idea to shut that down anyway.
All right, but so should we move on to the next story?
Yep. Mosquitoes.
So for our next topic, we're going to talk about the recent CBD shooting, which was the first Columbus shooting that was actually recorded using a body camera.
Right, which I'm very glad, and it's good for the police too to have this on there because, as a police officer, you should be doing the right thing all the time, and so you should have no issue. And like you're being paid to do this, so you should have no issue with a body camera that protects you and shows what's going on, like, and shows that you're doing the right thing.
So we'll put the link in the description for the video or the podcast, depending on how you're doing.
Yeah.
So my thoughts on this are basically, I mean, this is probably one of the better arguments for body cameras.
Right.
I mean, it helps citizens in the events that citizens are wrong. It helps the police in the event that they're being accused by citizens.
Exactly.
Which I guess false accusations are, at least as far as body cameras go right now, they're the majority.
Yeah.
Most incidents are people reporting things, and then the body cameras show that something didn't happen.
Exactly.
Yeah. Actually, even in this incident, which is now big news in Columbus, the family is suing the police department over the shooting.
Right.
Which, I mean, it's not going to go well, just because I think that footage pretty clearly shows that the guy was pulling a gun.
Yeah, that's what it looked like to me too. I mean, I guess I don't know what happened. Like, I don't really recall why that encounter happened at all, but it doesn't matter. Like, you don't reach, even if like you didn't have a gun, you don't run from the police officer and then reach into your pants, especially at an area where you normally keep a gun if you're carrying a gun, I guess, for some people. And like, you just don't do that. I mean, I would shoot. Like, I don't know what else. I don't know. Like, I don't know what else the officer is supposed to do.
So I think what a lot of people were saying, and sort of the family's argument too, because I mean it's obvious that he had a gun and that he had a gun in his hand when he was shot. Like, you can't argue that.
Yeah.
Like, the evidence is there. So I think the family's argument and sort of the anti-CPD statement right now is that he was trying to get rid of the gun. Because he didn't want, felony possession or whatever, but like he was trying to ditch the gun.
Yeah.
At the time he was fleeing.
Right, but that's the reason you employ a police officer is because society gives police officers the discretion to make those judgment calls. Because that's what we empower police officers with. Because otherwise, then there's no real point in having a police officer. Everybody should just be one. But we expect them to be trained. We expect them to follow, certain code of conduct. And all these things, and then we give them leeway to, just like, it's like in court, like it's like their word usually, as far as I know, like trumps yours, or like a cop can pull you over and say you're going 75 and you're going, 65 or something, but society gives police officers that ability and that responsibility to make those decisions, especially make them in a snap, in a moment, and maybe that guy was doing that. Well, we're not going to know, but I know the right thing to do either way wasn't to pull that gun out.
No matter what's happening, if you're being chased by the police,
an officer, I think didn't he have a gun out the whole time? Like while he was chasing, when he was going after that guy, or at least like when the guy started running. I don't really recall. I thought I saw his arm out stretched out.
I don't think so.
Okay.
But I think if the police are in pursuit of you, and your objective is
well, they should be in pursuit of you. You should just stop.
But anyways, if the cops are in pursuit of you and your objective is to not die, pulling a gun is probably not anywhere on the top 10 list of things you want to do.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's unfortunate too. If you look at the entire context of the interactions that police have with community, like it's unfortunate that happened. But I mean, I just haven't. It sucks, but it sucks that somebody died. But I think the officer made that's the decision I would have made, and I mean I just don't know what else is supposed to do. So
yeah. And, I mean, even in the video, I think it was pretty clear that the officer was somewhat distraught. Like, he didn't want to shoot the guy. I mean, you could say he was acting for the body cam or whatever, but, like...
there's no way you don't pretend in those situations, I don't think. Like, I think if you interview any police officer who's been in that, they're not... And I'm pretty, like, I'm not, like, anti-police, but I'm pretty police critical. But this is, like, a pretty clear cut of...
I mean, I would consider myself anti-police.
Yeah.
Well, sort of anti-police, but, I mean, I'm generally pro body camera regardless. And I think I don't understand the pushback, or I mean I don't understand the pushback on the police officer side, but I think this is a good argument for how they help police officers.
Because otherwise, I think not having that body cam just becomes a not so clear case.
Yeah, and this could be like the next
like Ferguson or
that kind of thing.
Yeah. Speaking of people being shot, so the Columbus Crew has, I think, the worst or second worst attendance.
No, it's the worst attendance.
The worst? Okay. Has the worst attendance in all of Major League Soccer. So, I like the Crew. I think it's cool that we have MLS. I like soccer. I mean, I'm not like a big fan like I would be like Ohio State football or something. I think that's just kind of normal, but it's pretty obvious why the attendance sucks, and that's because they charge you $10 or $15 to park, and they want to charge you like $13 for a beer. And then on top of that, even if you were like, okay, I'll buy one beer, there's nowhere to go to before and after the game. I mean, this is a pretty clear, to me at least, seems pretty obvious why the attendance sucks. It's like you got to drive over there, and so I don't want to drive over there.
Also,
it's
soccer. Don't forget that.
Yeah. So I mean, soccer inherently, just because in the United States, like inherently, it's going to be at a disadvantage for Major League. So if you look at like Huntington Park downtown, like that place, I mean, it's not always packed, but they get pretty. As far as I know, they get pretty good attendance, and I've been there a couple times. I have no issues like taking the C bus up there, like walking or riding my bike, and just going to a Clippers game because it's like $15 I think if you show up like at the door, and then on top of that, a Crew game's like $30.
Yeah, their prices are way too high. They're not filling seats. It doesn't. I just don't think it makes sense.
Yeah, and then I don't know if like, to me this seems pretty obvious, but economically, if you're getting low attendance, you don't raise the prices. That deters people from coming. You lower the prices to attract, but it seems like sports venues like this do the opposite, and I just don't get it, because then for me it's just like, well, I'm not going to go there now because I'm not paying a bunch of money for overpriced beer.
Well, so here's why I think it happens. If you're in like middling attendance, like let's say you're not filling all your seats, but your attendance is okay, you probably want to drop the price then in order to fill those seats.
Sure.
But if your attendance is absolutely horrible, it's like trash. It's like the only people who are coming are dedicated fans, basically.
So you're gonna screw your fans.
So yeah, what you're gonna do is you're gonna milk the people who are willing to come for their money. And it's an unfortunate situation, but I think that's what you're seeing playing out.
I'm hopeful that they will wise up to this and build a new stadium somewhere close to downtown. I have heard rumors that they might move next to Huntington Park because there's just basically a huge spot right there. a small, maybe a little bit smaller stadium, a new stadium with affordable prices, and where you don't have to pay $15 to park, and then you can go out before and after the game. Like that's why the like Blue Jackets games are so great. It's like you can go to the Shore North, get a burger or whatever. You can go to the Pint House and get like 30 beers or whatever. Then you can go to the game and you don't even have to buy anything there if you don't want to. But you can walk. You don't have to worry about driving, so you can drink and have fun and all this stuff. And then the crew game, it's in summer. It's 1,000,000 degrees outside.
So your real argument is that the attendance goes up if you can get trashed before the game.
Yeah, that's part of it. Or after, at least. Like if you win, you want to go. Because think about.
Or if you lose.
Yeah, or if you lose. So it's a you get trashed either way. So, but I mean I do think that they got to move it. It's just not. I'm just not going to the games there. I refuse.
I mean it's a big cost though. I think it's
it is the oldest stadium though.
Yeah, it's the oldest official MLS stadium.
Yeah, I think it was the first. So oldest.
Yeah,
so
that is how it works. But
yeah.
I mean it's going to be a huge cost and. They're not bringing in the revenue to be able to justify that cost, so I don't know that you're going to see that happen.
Yeah, well, it'll be unfortunate if we lose, MLS team because they won't, they can't. I don't know what the funding structure is, but it's going to be unfortunate if we're going to lose that team. That's the future of that unless they move it. I mean, that I don't think you can have. I just don't know what else they can do.
I also don't think Columbus cares so much about soccer. I mean, that was sort of my point. It wasn't even that the U.S. doesn't. It's like the Midwest, and it seems like Ohio in particular, just does not give a shit about soccer.
Well, but it certainly doesn't help when you put your stadium in the middle of nowhere in Columbus.
Well, yeah,
you can't generate enthusiasm when it's it just feels like some old archaic structure that you go to for rock on the range or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are complementary forces that are responsible for being literally the worst.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, so moving on to some tech news. Scientists are testing a photonic fence that fights mosquitoes with lasers. There's a
okay.
So there's a group called Intellectual Ventures Lab that's been working on this for about 10 years, and their first deployment is just now happening. Well, they've launched it within the month. So basically the idea is you put down this big sort of powered laser grid with some simple AI in it that is used to detect mosquitoes, right? So what it does is it looks at wing flaps per second and it looks for movement, using some visualization that can see at night. And if it identifies something that is obviously a mosquito, right, the wing flaps are right, it's moving, then it's after the laser.
Wow.
And mosquitoes apparently die really quickly when you zap them with lasers.
Huh.
And so right now it's being deployed in agricultural.
Right. So I mean, what was the mosquitoes' response to this? Were they happy about this news?
I think there's a video. I think their response is literally being set on fire and falling.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy. I mean,
and so the original goal of this, I guess it's like this sort of combination think tank startup. They were originally trying to come up with something that would do this in Africa. They haven't really worked it out for covering a village yet, but the first application is going to be for agriculture because that's an easier thing. You've got well defined
what's the range on this? I mean, because if you're just dropping in the middle of a farm,
100 meters.
Okay.
In any direction.
So they need to cover a farm plot. You would need a lot of these.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you only need to cover perimeter though, right?
So they don't get in.
It's being described literally as a fence because once they're inside, I guess they're there, but
But then they're not spreading diseases because they're stuck until they leave to turn into fire.
Yeah.
Interesting. So it seems like everybody's kind of on board with the murder of the mosquitoes.
The genocide of the mosquitoes.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. The last thing I had heard was they were basically sterilizing mosquitoes, and then so they were doing gene editing, sterilizing mosquitoes, and then having those mosquitoes breed with others and then sterilize them.
Yeah, I have a friend who used to work mosquito control, and she said that this was 4 years ago maybe, but the leading technique at the time was what they were doing is they were injecting or maybe gene editing mosquitoes so that they would form like a big, strong, like super attractive male mosquito
Yeah.
that all the females would want to like go to,
Yeah.
and then he would like he would like
Sterilize them.
have sex with them, but no, he would have sex with them, but the thing is like he was sterile, and so like all these mosquitoes flock to like this alpha mosquito,
Yeah.
but he's like perfectly, or he's designed to be like a perfect mosquito,
Yeah.
so everyone wants to breed with him, but he's sterile.
Huh.
He just released bunches of these.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess yeah, everyone is on board with sacrificing the mosquito race to the advantage of humans.
Yeah. I mean, they're a big problem. I mean, because they're spreading malaria. I mean, other infectious diseases in general.
And they're also really annoying.
Yeah, that's true. I hate getting bit by mosquitoes. So,
they're really weird too. They I don't know if you know this, but the way they find you and bite you because they can't see is they can sense carbon dioxide and they follow your breath to you.
oh really? So
Yeah.
what if we just all held our breath and
Forever?
then for like I don't know 20 minutes and then all the mosquitoes would just perish?
They wouldn't
Well, I
perish.
guess they would. We'd have to get all the other animals to do that too.
They wouldn't perish. They'd just be lost. They
Well, yeah, but they die quickly. Like they don't have like a long life.
Well, yeah, but I mean it's like days.
Or we could just get every animal on the planet to hold its breath for like days, and then all the mosquitoes will die.
Of starvation.
It'll be cheaper.
That's a great idea. Why has no one else thought of this? Jesus Christ, Bill Gates. I thought you were supposed to be smart.
Yeah, I'm gonna send him a letter and tell him I solved the problem of malaria.
All right. So what else do we have in tech news?
Okay, so this is gonna be short because I'm just astonished, but apparently The Rock is going to star in a movie with Siri. Siri as in Apple's Siri on iPhone and Mac OS or whatever. I'm a pretty big Mac fan. That's no secret to anybody. I think this is retarded. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Like Apple's partnering with, I guess, with him to do this. I'm sure they're throwing bags of money at him because I don't know what this could possibly be. Maybe I'm wrong, and this is going to be one of the best movies of the year, or whenever it comes out. But on its face, it sounds absolutely terrible.
You know what? This isn't even the worst movie idea for this year.
Oh, really?
Or sorry, not this year. Like this week.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if you saw this, and I mean, not quite related. Oh, well, okay, so it's related only in that it's a terrible, dumb idea for a movie.
Okay.
So there's about to be a movie, or I mean, there's a movie coming out soon about 9/11.
Okay.
I think called 9/11.
Okay. Very, very catchy original title.
Starring Whoopi Goldberg and who's the guy from 2.5 Men?
I have no idea.
Charlie Sheen.
Okay.
So Charlie Sheen.
What are they gonna do?
I think. I mean, I watched the trailer, and I think they're just like they're trying to get out of the Twin Towers. Like Whoopi Goldberg's like some person who works some type of death support.
And Charlie Sheen's some firefighter.
Well, I think no. I mean,
Is it worse?
I think he's stuck in an elevator for some large period of the movie, and then the elevator falls because the trailer gives that away. It's a garbage trailer for a garbage movie.
Yeah, my mind is blown. There's The Rock and Siri, and now Charlie Sheen and Whoopi Goldberg running out of the Twin Towers. Yeah, I mean, I guess I've seen it. I guess Hollywood's desperate.
I wonder how that movie's gonna end.
I think they're just desperate. They're just trying for anything now. Because I mean, most movies that come out suck. Although I am really looking forward to Dark Tower. Already got my tickets for that.
I mean, I think the last few years, Hollywood has been doing worse year over year.
Yeah, they keep rehashing movies or just doing dumb stuff. It's just like, well, they need TV shows that are way better format.
I mean, I think you're seeing that though because I mean, going back to sequels and going back to sort of tried and true moneymakers, that's a sign of an industry that's struggling.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think you've got the chicken and egg thing wrong though, because like in any industry, any time there's like this dearth of. I mean, anytime it's like, I guess, perilous to sort of engage in, risk taking.
Yeah.
People don't. I think that's just how
But
it's up.
but at the same time, like Pixar comes up with smash hit movies year after year. They make great movies all the time, and so like I don't understand what the rest of these studios don't get.
But the thing is, there are less and less studios that are able to survive, right?
Right.
I mean, like, Columbia's not doing well, and Columbia was huge when we were growing up.
Right.
New Line Cinema, I think, used to be super huge in the 90s, and it basically doesn't exist anymore. I mean, the big companies are going away. You're left with these sort of.
I guess we're gonna have Netflix and Amazon movies now.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna be. I think you're mostly left with like these sort of niche shops, like the Marvel movies, the Pixar movies, but like those are sort of.
Well, they make good movies, so I'm cool with it. Well, I don't really like the superhero movies. I mean, they have some good ones. Like, I really didn't think I would like Deadpool, and I thought that was a funny enough movie, and it kind of broke the mold a little bit. But I really don't like the whole, because it's like they have like an infinite universe of random superheroes they can make up, and then they just like have some story in New York, and then it's like, oh, okay, that again. So I'm not a big fan. But so moving on, there's so one of the things that I think is pretty cool that's going on in Columbus is the hopper cart concept. So, are you familiar with this, Trevor?
No, I'm not. Explain it to me.
Okay, it's probably because you live out here in the suburbs, so you wouldn't be hip and cool.
Hey,
so
my rent half what your mortgage is.
yeah, well, so in like the Short North Arena District, downtown, I've seen them all the way down to the Bicentennial Park, on like the side of the mile and all this stuff. So basically, some guys and gals, I think gals too, got together and they came up with this idea, and it's like if you took the car to go, and then you added you made it bigger, and then you added like 3 rows. That's a hopper cart. But the catch is they're just free. So you use an app like Uber to summon one, and then it's free, and it'll just take you wherever you want to go downtown. And then they make money. Like they ask for tips for the drivers, and then they just have a whole bunch of advertisements like on the side and whatever. It works. I see from their website, which we'll have a link to. They service like almost 14,000 people, which is more than I thought it would be. But I'm cool with it. It's just another mode of transportation. Somebody said it's kind of like an on-demand C-bus, but smaller stuff. As long as the government's not subsidizing it and they're making money, I'm all on board with this. I think it's cool.
Question 1: how the fuck are they making money?
The advertisements. I guess they're making enough money from it. Well, if they are, I don't have the access to but they're still in business, so.
It just, I find it really hard to believe that they're able to fund this service just based on ads.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can look at the pictures for these. I mean, they just have giant ads plastered on the side. Like, there's one for Germain Toyota, and it's just like a Germain Toyota car. But I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine it also costs that much money to run those either. I mean, if you're paying a driver, you're probably paying them. Well, even if I don't even know how they're paying the drivers. But like, let's say the driver's making like $8 an hour.
Minimum wage plus tips.
Yeah, let's just say that, and then plus tips. So I mean, the driver's not even a factor. So they're paying $8 an hour for one of these cars. I'm sure the advertisement they can make more than $8 an hour.
Yeah, maybe, but there's a lot of associated business costs.
Plus the gas.
And then maintaining the cars.
Yeah. Then who knows? I mean, they could be easily maintainable. I think they're electric too, which is cool. Which is well, I think it's super cool. Because we need more electric vehicles, which is something we'll go into here in a sec too.
I think ultimately I'm fine with businesses doing business things, but I'm really surprised that they're able to turn a profit.
When I first heard of it, I thought there's no way. But I mean, it's not like some $1 billion business that's going to scale and do all this stuff, but it's they get volunteers to drive. So they have volunteers to drive for tips.
Okay.
That's fine. I mean, that's cool too. I'm cool with that.
Okay, that actually cuts a lot of the cost out. Cause then you don't have to deal with. I mean,
any of the costs.
Well, yeah, like you don't have to deal with healthcare, any of that shit. I mean, yeah. So okay, now I'm willing to believe that.
Yeah. Well, I'm cool with that. I like it as long as it's a solid, sustainable business and they're serving a need. That's freaking cool. So, and that's here in Columbus too. I don't know of this anywhere else in the country. So,
all right, should we go into tech, or is that it for tech news?
I think so. We got some. I got a good list of events that are coming up.
All right.
So you want to hear what's going on?
Yeah, let's hear them, and let's give a brief description for those who might not have ever gone to any of these before.
Right. So I alluded to earlier the electric car, with the electric car, me thinking that was cool. So for those listening who may not be familiar with Smart Columbus, so last year the city of Columbus outcompeted basically every other city. So whether it's San Francisco or Portland or Austin or New York or DC or wherever, for the Department of Transportation had this challenge called the Smart City Challenge. So everybody had all the cities submitted a proposal to get like $50 million in funding from the Department of Transportation for electrification, autonomous vehicle testing, and kind of all that, cars of the future, transportation of the future type endeavors. And they're actually up because of like public-private partnerships. They're actually up to almost they're at $500 million, and their goal is to raise $1 billion by 2020.
And so why were we able to win? Why was Columbus able to win?
So I mean, there were a bunch of different factors. From what I've heard, one of the main ones was the city actually targeted the I guess town. I don't know how you describe it, Linden. So they targeted that area as an area that has poor access to things like healthcare or childcare. A lot of people can't afford cars or don't have cars, so they're relying on like the buses and CODA's always trying to people who drive cars always try to defund CODA and then scream for their $50 million road not improvements because they don't improve the road, but so the city actually targeted that area and specifically, and that from what I've heard, that was one of the factors that contributed to the city of Columbus winning the grant, because the other cities are kind of like, yeah, we want to do autonomous transportation areas like Short North, where it's like, yeah, great, like you guys have all this money, and then you're just getting more money, and the city actually went after an area that needed something like this.
So for those who aren't aware of what the climate is like in Linden, because you haven't been there, Linden is Linden is extremely poor. It's the biggest immigrant and sort of refugee taking area we have.
Yeah.
It's pretty much where all of the Somali refugees of the 90s ended up, and it's a majority minority community, and
right.
It's pretty impoverished, and a lot of the places are what would be considered food deserts, and you can't get you can't get to anywhere from anywhere without having a car.
Right.
And there's not a lot there that isn't housing.
Yeah. And they have like a abnormal rate of like child mortality, or I think like terminated pregnancies from malnutrition, like that, those types of, I don't know for sure, but those types of things. So so anyway, so that's some background on that. But there's a cool event that comes up. It happens every Tuesday, and maybe we'll mention it again in the future. But the organization Smart Columbus, so it's kind of like a company, if you will. If you want to, it's probably a good way of thinking of it. At the Columbus Idea Foundry in Franklinton, which is an awesome space. So shout out to them for having an awesome space, which is cool. But the organization Smart Columbus is putting together this thing called Smart Columbus Live. And so at 8 a.m. or 8:30 a.m., 1 p.m., and 3:30 p.m. every Tuesday, they do this like 2-hour engagement session, and it's basically like a more or less like a brainstorming. From what I read, like a brainstorming, idea solicitation, talking about the mission of Smart Columbus, and just like a general engagement session. So I think that's pretty cool, and if you have time on a Tuesday, I think that'd be something worthwhile to check out, especially for the type of people that would listen to a podcast like this about the city. It's like, go over and check out the Idea Foundry, see what's going on in Franklinton. You have an excuse to go over there, stop by, check out Smart Columbus Live. Super cool. I'm hoping to go soon. We're gonna have to probably take the morning off work if I go, but yeah, looks pretty cool. So maybe you'll see me there, but you won't know me. So and I'll just dodge you. So and then the other cool thing coming up, which I haven't been to yet, Trevor, is the Making Midwest Festival. So at the Garden Theater on North High, I think it's North High Street, they're throwing together this like 2-day festival for small businesses, people who make things, makers, and they're gonna have like workshops, networking, stuff for sale, all kinds of cool stuff. So that's on Saturday, July 29th through the 30th. So I think that's supposed to be next weekend. So it looks pretty cool.
So outside of networking, what do small businesses get out of it, or is it more of a showcase?
It's kind of like a showcase,
for
like
the small business.
Yeah, it's a showcase, like, hey, these are our products, like we're located here. Just to get try to reinvigorate the community with like, hey, like if you want to make something, there are resources, there are people who are doing it. It can happen. You gotta just get involved. So
right, so they're connecting the community with the business.
Yeah, but it's not just it's in Columbus, but it's not just Columbus businesses. It's kind of regional.
Right.
So you get people from Pittsburgh or Cleveland or.
I like that less, but I mean it's fine.
Yeah,
it's a cool event.
Pittsburgh people here, so.
I mean, Pittsburgh, Cincy. Do we really need people from Cincy?
Yeah, I wish we could take Carnegie Mellon and just like uproot that and drop that into Columbus. And Pitt too. Bring Pitt. I don't even care. You can even keep the name. Just drop some great universities here.
If you move CMU to Columbus, I swear to God, OSU's education standard would just plummet.
Yeah.
Like all their good students would end up at CMU.
Yeah. I mean, they would definitely have to compete because I don't really think they compete in Columbus right now. I mean, of course, naturally they attract students from out of state. I mean, it's so not to go on a tangent here. OSU is a good school. Their CS department's ranked like 32 or 34 or something, which is, I mean, that's pretty. I mean, that's national. That's pretty good. That puts them ahead of colleges like, because I looked this up, and puts them ahead of colleges like Dartmouth or.
I think they were in the top 20 a couple years ago.
Yeah, I mean, they could be. Maybe I'm sure that fluctuates, but again, Carnegie Mellon's number one. So
yeah.
There's a huge gap between number one on the planet and 34.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've seen it as low as 4, but yeah, no one's saying like Carnegie Mellon. Who the fuck wants to go to Carnegie Mellon?
But yeah, so those are a couple really cool events coming up, and then next week I'll highlight a couple other ones, and I'm hoping to go to the Making Midwest Festival because I think that sounds pretty good too. So
yeah,
well, if the event sucked, I wouldn't talk about them, or if I thought that they were gonna suck, I wouldn't talk about them. So.
Yeah, we'll just try and keep you in touch with the community and what's going on in Columbus.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So should we get to the big feature topic?
Oh yeah, this is a dicey one as always. So
a little bit of a debate. So we had the first attempt to pass a bill that would severely restrict net neutrality.
Naturally.
And so this has become. I mean, this is as it always is. Become sort of a big topic of discussion on the internet.
Yeah. And
I think you and I sort of disagree here, and so
do we?
I think we do.
Okay, well let's hear it then.
All right.
I thought we agreed.
So my view has changed just from sort of reading discussions very recently. I mean as far as this round of I guess what would have been PIPA or SOPA, the bills that are trying to remove net neutrality. I honestly think I don't care about net neutrality anymore.
Okay, that's weird. So why?
All right. So I think at the end of the day, net neutrality is so it's a restriction. I mean, it's a restriction on businesses and sort of what they can do by the government.
Yeah.
And I don't think it makes sense to do.
Okay.
In absence of there being a physical monopoly on resources.
Which there is.
So my argument is that instead of removing net neutrality, what we should be fighting for is we should be fighting for a collectivization of the lines that you can run to people's houses. Because I think that's the big problem. I think honestly it's a much bigger issue than net neutrality. That it's basically impossible for a small business to compete without sort of prearranging an agreement with a larger company like Comcast.
Right. So I definitely agree with you in the sense that opening up the fiber and broadband lines are something that needs to be done. I still disagree with you regarding net neutrality not being as important because, so here's the thing. It takes a lot of money to start up an internet company. Whether you have to lay down, not internet, I mean like an ISP.
Yeah.
So whether you're laying down lines yourself, which nobody's doing because you just can't afford it. Google even got out of that business. So you can't afford it. And then on top of that, there's a bunch of regulations. It's up to the individual, companies to lease those lines to even lease you space. So which is part of the problem that you mentioned. But here's the thing. So let's say there's a Comcast or somebody, or let's say whoever, they built the lines, they built these fiber lines, and now anybody can get on them. So what's the world going to look like when you have you still only have 3 or 4 companies because it's a prohibitively expensive market to get into who are leasing those lines? Because all they're going to do is they're just going to get together and they're going to give you data caps, which suck for innovation, and then they're going to say, oh well, Netflix, you didn't pay us X amount of dollars, so therefore we're going to degrade your cost. The thing is the same thing that's going to happen. I think the same thing that would happen with data caps on your mobile plan. I think the same thing would happen with broadband, not just the caps themselves, but the same kind of. It's not quite collusion, but all the players in the industry kind of got together with the same thing. They said, "Oh, we're going to get rid of these," and everybody just took it as nobody took it as a competitive advantage. So why wouldn't ISPs follow suit?
Well, I mean, I think that's the issue. If the barrier to entry is too high, right? If let's say you can't get bankrolled with like a couple $1 million, and create a successful ISP, and companies are engaging in sort of anti-consumer behavior,
right?
Which is what I would consider this sort of not collusion, where you kind of look at what the other guy is doing and no one is stepping up.
It's like a race to the bottom, really.
And we've had this problem with gas companies too. I think at the end of the day, that's the issue. I think.
Well, yeah, sure, yeah. Because if they were going to be let's say they were going to be good companies, if you will, they would recognize that customers don't want what websites they go to be restricted or have the bandwidth on certain websites be degraded in favor of the company's own product, like AT&T. I'm not picking on them. Or you could say I think Comcast may be a better example, but no, AT&T is a good one. So AT&T bought DirecTV, and then if you get AT&T internet service, you can get DirecTV, like the streaming service. You can get that at a far discounted rate. So it's like now, if you're Netflix, you're competing with AT&T, who, if there is no net neutrality, they can come in, they can slow Netflix's speeds down, make their product suck, and they can say, hey, we have our product for the same price or close to it. Why don't you use ours and you'll get great streaming speeds? Like that combination there is like mega fuckery, and we got to make sure that doesn't happen.
But that can happen. That can happen in pretty much any industry that isn't that isn't the internet. Why does the internet have this special protection?
Well, I think there's 2 things. So first, I think it actually has a special unprotection, because if you look at things like, let's say your electricity costs, like AEP, your water, all those stuff, a lot of those costs, there's no, usually the city has a monopoly on it, or if you have some company, they have these set rates that they can charge, right?
Yeah.
And you can get unlimited water, you just kind of pay for the usage. And I think the other thing is that there's a limit on the bandwidth for broadband, but there's not. They're doing these data caps and slowing down speeds and stuff for websites, but it's an artificial limitation.
Right. I mean, it's a privatization thing. I agree with that. Yeah.
I think largely it is a monopoly, and I also think it is a monopoly on resources, because now I can't really even imagine doing anything without the internet. To me it's the equivalent of roads. It's the same thing to me. there's you go places, you do commerce, they connect cities, connect websites, what have you, connect resources. To me, those being able to connect to the internet and being able to go to a bunch of different websites. I mean, imagine a world where you have like Comcast and AT&T, and it's like they like own all the like every website. Like, what kind of world would that be like versus all the innovation you get from all these companies who aren't Comcast and AT&T who just spring up and then, hey, we have these ideas, bam, then.
But the thing is, that's a vertical monopolization issue. That's not a net neutrality issue. I think a lot of the arguments for why we need net neutrality stem from what if other bad thing happens that's not directly related to net neutrality.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think I agree with what you said in the sense that net neutrality stems from these other problems, and I do think that the competition is the underlying problem. Between the companies.
You mean lack thereof?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think that's the larger underlying problem because I do think if I want to go buy laundry soap, or dish soap or something, I can buy the Kroger brand, also known as like the Comcast brand. If I want something like that's maybe cheap, if I want it Tide because I like the smell, or if I want it Clorox, I don't know. You have a variety of products. People can freely enter and exit those markets.
Right.
But with the internet, you can't. And it's the same thing with power too. And I think in the future we're going to see the electric companies are going to be I think they're going to be one of the next industries that people hate because as soon as and it already is actually, but as soon as people start catching on to like solar rooftop panels, being able to store electricity and stuff, I've seen I think in Spain they made them illegal. So I don't see why that wouldn't be coming to the United States because we do stupid stuff all the time. Of course Spain does too because they have like 20% unemployment. But I see no reason. And the electricity companies still like charge you like I think I've seen regulation they charge you like a minimum like amount of money and you can't like turn it off. Like you can't disconnect from the grid. And that's going to happen. And I think internet companies, ISPs now, it's the same kind of thing.
Well, I think that boils down to a couple issues. I think that's a lobbying issue, and I think that's an issue with actual collusion and how we define it. Truthfully, I think we need to redefine collusion. Because, the thing that petrol companies have done, some of the things petrol companies have done, and some of the things that cable providers who are now, who are generally also in the business of internet service providing,
right,
have done should be considered collusion, right? If you agree, if companies are agreeing, hey, Comcast won't lay lines in Philly if
they would lay lines in there since they're headquartered there. But
well,
that's an aside.
I
know what you're saying.
Yeah,
because they section off the.
Yeah. So they literally, there are literally agreements to split between like Time Warner and Comcast. And they have, agreements where we're not going to step on each other's toes.
Yeah, that is collusion as far as I'm concerned. That's
and legally it should be. And I think that's the real issue. I haven't really heard a great argument that I buy into that say, that for some reason we should make it illegal outside of everything else to say charge Netflix more because.
Well, but they don't charge Netflix more. Like the thing is that cost is just passed on to you.
Correct.
Netflix doesn't change their price. Like you as the customer, you just get screwed.
Netflix is going to be charged more, and then Netflix is going to pass on the price. But that's how it's going to work, right?
Well, no, because ISPs they just limit your speed and they give you data caps, and so that effectively they charge both really, because they'll charge Netflix to send the data and they'll charge you to receive the data, and that's I think economically it's a terrible idea. I'm not saying that, like, even if we disagree on net neutrality, I think we have an agreement with the ISPs, and I think as politicians and across the entire country should do is say, okay, we have this common problem, like this thing we completely agree on, which I think we both agree with the ISPs, just that whole situation with garbage. Like, start there, and then let's reevaluate the net neutrality thing.
Right. But I think if you hit on our common ground, the net neutrality doesn't matter. Like
well, I'm saying let's just make it not matter. I mean, maybe it doesn't, but maybe what if we find out we're wrong? So like, what if you start out with that assumption that okay, so if we everybody's able to go in and compete, maybe we're with that assumption that net neutrality won't matter goes away.
Sure.
So I don't know, but yeah, it's a tough problem. I think we're probably gonna get screwed.
So at the very least, though, you agree that net neutrality is far less of an issue than the surrounding monopolization, or do you not?
I think it depends. Like, if you take the pragmatic approach that we need to do one thing to kind of save us, I think net neutrality is going to be far better of a silver bullet than.
I mean, I don't think
because it's not just regulated nationwide. Every city, municipality, states, like there's all these different layers of rules. So like,
I don't think it's far better. I think it's far easier.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, it would be better just to have
it's
the right kind of market.
It exists now, and so you have a thing in place.
Yeah.
And so you have a thing you can rally behind and defend.
Right.
Whereas
that's
yeah. I mean, removing laws tends to be a lot harder than adding them.
Yeah.
Which is sort of the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, I think we got some overall agreement there. So.
All right. Well, I think that's a wrap, Eric. This has been Columbus this week, and we hope you have a great week. We'll see you next Sunday.